Hi everybody, I'm Dave Karger for IMDb here at the Toronto International Film Festival 2018. I'm so happy to be joined by the gang from Life Itself. Great to see all four of you this morning. Dan, for the three people out there who probably don't know, you are the creator of This Is Us, as well as the writer and director of this movie. What would you say you were able to do with this film that maybe you couldn't do on TV?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think the film has a really big scope. It kind of has a beginning, a middle, and an end, whereas a TV show is this ongoing exploration of characters where you really live in the small moments. The film plays in time in a similar way in different storylines, but it has a definite end point where there's a kind of complete story and plot in a way that sometimes like a television show doesn't have to have and doesn't demand. So I think that's the separation.
I would imagine NBC would also not probably be okay with calling the dog face.
No, face wouldn't play on. There's a lot more cursing in this film and a lot more violence too.
Right.
So yeah, there's a bunch of things the censors wouldn't let us get away with.
Okay. Yeah, you automatic R rating just with the dog's name right there.
Yeah, we're having a hard time. There is a fair amount of cursing, and we've been having a hard time pulling clips to put on network television for the talk shows because every other word is in the movie. So
that's fantastic. Yeah. Annette, you are the returning actor in Dan Fogelman's second feature film because you and Al Pacino were in his first film, Danny Collins, a few years ago. Without giving anything away, this is a spoiler-free interview, but you are actively involved in two of the film's most shocking moments, something that happens to you and something that you witness. What went through your mind when you were paging through the script for the first time and saw that you were going to be involved with these two very surprising moments?
Well, since I know Dan, I was reading it with that in mind, having worked with him, having had an incredible time. We got to improvise. We did all kinds of things when we were working on the first film together. So I feel like I know him pretty well. And so when I read it with that in mind, and I just loved it. I loved the surprises. And you're right, we don't want to give anything away. So it's the scope of it. I liked what I got to do, but I also really was interested in what everybody else was doing and how Dan was trying to tell a very large story, trying to talk about lots of dimensions of existence, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
There's pain, there's incredible joy, but I think he's trying to get at the deeper meanings behind things that we all are sort of trying to do with various moments of our lives, especially in great moments of crisis or great moments of joy. There's always the other dimension happening, and we can sense it and feel it. So in a way, I think his film touched on all of that, so I just was really interested to be a part of it to try to make that happen.
Mandy, it's a real kick to see you and Oscar Isaac play father and son. And it made me think, as actors, when you're watching other actors, either of your generation or of different generations, are you ever thinking, oh, I could play related to that guy? That guy could be my son in a movie. Did he seem like a good fit for you?
He's a joy in every way imaginable. And I have two sons that are virtually his age, and so it wasn't much of a stretch. And we had a blast talking about a lot of Shakespeare talk because he was getting ready to do Hamlet.
Oh, of course.
So we had a lot of fun with that.
I love that.
So he was off camera just going over the Hamlet speeches.
Oh, how lucky that you were right there for some guidance.
I don't know if it was lucky, but I enjoyed talking to him.
Olivia, at one point, your character Dylan is described as scary. Do you see her that way? Is that an accurate description?
Yeah, I mean, she is a bit intimidating. I think what's going on in her personal life and probably up there is probably quite scary, and so she's the physical embodiment of that as well. And yeah, I think it was quite easy to relate because my mum would probably describe me as the same thing.
Really? Okay, so who in the cast is the biggest This Is Us fanatic? Who was like bothering you for spoilers throughout the whole shooting?
It's Antonio Banderas is surprisingly into This Is Us. Yeah, Banderas he's wonderful in the film.
Yes.
And I texted him because I hadn't seen him in a while, and I said, Antonio, like, I can't wait for you to see this. You're really tremendous. I think people are going to be really blown away. And it was basically like a 15-page text back all about This Is Us question. And he was like, thanks a lot. And then he went into the show. And then ultimately, he had been in LA, and he came over to my house to watch the film for the first time. And he wanted to meet people, so I had Sterling K. Brown and Justin Hartley from the show and their spouses. They came over and watched with Antonio for the first time. And it was like all my worlds were mixing, and my wife blew the dinner, and it was a whole complicated, weird night, but it was a bit of a love fest. And so Antonio's watching the movie, and I'm so proud of it and him in it, and I noticed he's just like watching the actors the entire time like a fan. It was all very unusual.
I'm curious, how did your wife blow the dinner?
She decided she was making like this kind of easy spread of like food and tacos and all this stuff, but at the last minute informed me that I was cooking the meat on the grill. But I was stressed out because I had like these famous people coming over my house, and they didn't know each other, and I'm outside on the grill making meat, and they're all inside kind of awkwardly milling about the house, and so I rushed the meat, and it was just a disaster.
So you blew the dinner.
Well, that's a way of looking at it. But
I'm hired by your wife to defend that particular moment.
but then also I have.
It was her plan to make you cook the meat. That was
I
her
think
plan.
so. I don't know what the plan was.
I've been there, and I just want to say I feel her pain.
The funny part was I don't know if this is interesting, but Mandy and Annette had come over with their spouses and to watch the film. My wife was out of town, and at the last minute I was like, shit, I've got like Mandy and Annette and Warren Beatty coming over to my house. Like, what do I do? Kate was out of town. So I ran to Trader Joe's, and I bought like bagged vegetables and threw them in a bowl, and like the Trader Joe's
was
licorice.
great.
And Mandy's eating the Trader Joe's hummus and going, this is wonderful. And Warren was eating all the licorice. And I was like, all right, maybe this worked. And Kate was horrified, my wife. So.
Oh my God. I want to come over next time because you don't know who's going to be there. For the three actors, how would you say kind of being in the Dan Fogelman orbit and doing a film like this changes your perspective on things? Because as a viewer, it certainly does. Olivia?
In terms of the Dan Fogelman world,
Yeah, and life
like the
in
Marvel universe,
and life itself.
and life itself. I think for me, I kind of am in a mode of just rushing past things and not looking at the poignancy in moments. And I think for me, it was just like a little reminder of like, oh no, things can be really magical if you just kind of look a little bit harder, or take the time to absorb.
I think Dan has a global perspective, and he is the essence of my favorite word on the planet, which is connect. And pardon me, I don't think he doesn't know how not to connect human experience. And I think we are all interconnected globally. And I think that's the huge metaphor of this piece, coupled with the fact that we have no idea what will happen 1 second from this moment that we're living in. And something else defines that. And he's connected to that as well.
Annette?
I feel like I'm at my funeral.
He was a
We
beautiful,
love Dan.
beautiful man. We loved him.
We
loved
mourn
him.
his passing.
Yeah. What a wonderful experience we had that day.
What a guy.
And in memory, we're having the same hors d'oeuvres he served when we came to see
We'll
the
have
film.
those Trader Joe
Yeah, Trader
veggies.
Joe's everywhere. And
The hummus.
Please eat
Ah,
up.
the
Yeah.
memories.
yeah.
Well, yeah, in the part of the movie that I'm in, I'm dealing with only Oscar Isaac, and I knew it was going to be Oscar. And by the way, I saw him play that Hamlet. It was incredible. It was great production all around, but he's insane. It's like I heard the play. I thought, oh, wait, I'd never really heard that yet before. Anyway, so I
That's
find...
my boy.
Good job. Good job, Dad. So, other actors give me my own sense of truth. So when you're working with somebody in the room with you, that has that kind of sense of truth, then I just completely relax because I'll think, oh, I see. I know who I am because of who he is and because of the way he's talking to me. And I was also just watching him, quite frankly, in admiration for what he was doing. And then the part that I'm really getting more and more excited about with making films is the unexpected. And I mean, of course, one always has, I've always wanted to find that, but I feel like as I get older, I have a little bit more of an ability to leave a larger percentage of what might happen unknown. And my mind tends to want to plan, just because, of course, you know, you get out there, there's a camera, people say action, you feel like what if I haven't figured out what I'm going to do? What if it's bad, or, you know, anyway, any number of fears. But so Dan knows how to set up an environment where that can happen, where you just sort of see if something unexpected can happen. Yeah. That's the best thing that can happen, is something nobody anticipated. And I think that kind of happened with Oscar.
It did. I mean, Annette and Oscar, we shot Annette's and Oscar's portion of the film was the first thing we shot.
Wow.
And we covered roughly 40 pages in basically 2 days. And basically set up the room, set up a bunch of cameras. I didn't do anything other than tell Annette and Oscar what we were doing next, basically. Because
you wrote it, that's what you did.
Well, I wrote it, and I got two great actors to do it. But you sat and watched them for 2 days, and we once, at the end, the last day, we did, I think, like 30-minute takes, like that covered 40 pages, and a lot of that is in the film, like uncut. And so, yeah, it's a really cool experience. When you get great actors like these guys, you don't have to do a lot. Like you kind of just try and make them comfortable, so that they feel comfortable to do whatever comes to mind, and that's kind of the gig.
It shows. Well, I congratulate all four of you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Have a great premiere tonight.
Thank you.
Pleasure to see you all.